Good day and hello, besties. My name is Shelby Ashley, and welcome to another recap from Big Brother 28. This was episode 4, and this was kind of a long episode, but I feel like it set up a lot of good information for tomorrow's eviction episode, the first eviction of the season. I'm so excited. Thursday is the best day of the week. So in this one, we got some cast opening credits. We got Lala dropping it low. We got Melody crashing out. And the reality icons are continuing to kill it so far. So we opened with some opening credits. I love how cheesy the cast opening credits are. So this will not happen every episode of my recaps, but we are going to go through every single person real quick. Ashley had a sassy little hair flip. Chuck got the cowboy hat. Mallory gives us the over the glasses mog. Devin rubs his hands together. This is all so classic. Lyric gets a hula move. Rome, I wrote down Rome must have just listened to Arms Wide Open because he's just like, Haley, girl, give us nothing with your little get over here finger. And Kamu gives us a knee to the chest, which I thought was pretty good for his whole MMA thing he's got going on. Dee's was kind of perfect because she was like all smiley, and then she's like, I'm watching you, mean mugging you with the death stare. Jason also kind of just gives us a little bounce, which I was a little disappointed with. I just saw you do the splits in the backyard. Like, what are we doing? Where's my clam slam? Lala, honestly, she's just like smiling so big, but you can just feel all her energy like through her smile. It's crazy. Barrett gives us like a nervous little jig. It gives, if you've ever watched Naruto, the Himiwa with them, and Sakura at the end credits from like the early episodes. And then Taylor is giving us Glambot realness. She gives a whole like, it's like if the Glambot was following her. I could see her at the award show here doing that. Drew gives a little double-handed point. Melody, I wrote, gives us flirty animatronic. And Yosh fibs pumps like champs from Jersey Shore. And Angela ends us off with a little sassy pose. And I think my favorite part, though, was when they zoom out and it's like you can see everybody as the camera goes, and you just see Barrett doing like the weirdest. It's almost similar to what he's doing here. I'll show you. Hold on. It was just the silliest little thing ever. Just the silliest little guy. Okay, and now we're gonna talk about the actual episode. I just thought that was so funny. His little dance. So we start the episode off after the nomination ceremony, after Dee nominates Yash, Taylor, and Mallory for eviction. Dee says she nominated one person from every group, which is something we've been hearing all week long from the house. One person from every group in the HOH competition, that was. And she really hopes the noms stay the same so she does not have to get any more blood on her hands. Yash is confused because he was under the impression that Dee was keeping her team safe, because she did say that. Like, there's a clip of her saying that. She did say that. And he also helped her win the HOH. So, and she never gave him a heads up or anything. Then we cut to Taylor DR, and she says being erotic won't help her out when she meant erratic. So I just thought that was a really funny slip of the tongue. And Mallory takes it pretty hard after she gets nominated, and she's crying after the ceremony, both in the DR and in public in front of everybody. Yash is trying to talk, the boys are trying to talk Yash up and be like, man, you got this. You have two chances for safety and all of that. And Dee is also trying to comfort Mallory, but Mallory's like, give me 10. I need 10. Give me 10. And so she walks outside and then just starts venting like, oh, why wasn't it Barrett and Ashley? They're the other team, blah, 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 blah. But Drew mentions to her a little later, though, that maybe she shouldn't say stuff like that. between him, Mallory, and Melody. Maybe she should just kind of keep those opinions to herself until she knows more of what's going on. Devins and Dee and Angela have a celebration in the HOH room, and it is so underrated. If you're ever on Big Brother, if I'm ever on Big Brother, like, celebrate behind closed doors with people who think they're with you and people who are with you. You just celebrate with everybody. Like, so much comes from just being able to shut the door and be like, we did it. Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. I think that, like, it's just, there's not a lot of team building. Well, I lie. There is a lot of team building, but that is one way to build team morale. I can't find my words correctly right now. But that's a way to bond together, is to celebrate the wins, commiserate in the losses, and just, feed off each other's emotion and be there for each other in the highs and the lows. So I'm glad that they had this cute little celebration. And then we get a DR from Devin saying that how locked in he is with Dee, and mentions how BB and Survivor are two very different games, which I think these Survivor players are feeling pretty hard right now because, what is it, day, I don't know, 7? Is it day 7 in the house right now? Like, this is like a third of Survivor, you know what I mean? Like, and you have months to go. So it's very much an endurance game, and that was what Sari was saying as well. Dee and Taylor talk, and Taylor tells her they're cool. She says she's going to be okay, and she wants to work with Dee, but she can't rely on her for safety, so she's going to go in and try to win this veto. And Mallory and Taylor are talking up to each other about how they're both noms. Mallory is having trouble kind of keeping it together, so she goes to talk to Dee. Mallory tells her she doesn't want to be the first one out, and Dee tells her that she doesn't want her to go home and that she wants Yash to go home. So Mallory asks Dee, like, whenever people are talking to her, can you please try to push Yash? So, not necessarily like, don't vote for me, but more so vote for Yash. And but she says she is not going to give up, and she's going to lock in for this veto. Then we cut after break to Rome is making Ashley her first burger. And I don't know, baby girl, I like you, Ashley. I don't think anybody buys that this is your first burger. I just don't know how you live life without being a vegetarian for a long time. I don't know, she said she's a picky eater. I know picky eaters, they are picky as hell. So maybe, but no, there's no way you went this long without a burger. But she says it's delicious. So first one or not, burgers are good, confirmed by Ashley. Lyric and Melody talk about stepping back from Mallory because she might be going home and they want to branch out and make more allies. They think Mallory is not taking this well, and they don't want to be associated with Mallory because they don't want to be the replacement nominee if Mallory comes off. And then they talk with Dee, and Melody is, telling her, like, they never made an alliance with Mallory. She doesn't want to be associated with her. But Melody does a lot of the talking, and Lyric is kind of just there. Dee notes that she's only telling her this because of how close they actually are, and they can't fool her. So Dee thinks that they actually all are close, and they're trying to play like they are not close. And then we get a conversation between Melody and Drew. And then Drew says, if you want to talk to me, you gotta get on my level. So Melody, first she, like, sits on the ground to try to, like, be in front of him. He's like, oh, no. You gotta turn around. Like, so she flips upside down in the Drew hair tutorial way, and they start talking some game. And she tells him more of the same, like, she's not solid with Mallory, and they both tell each other that they want to work together. And then Drew notes, though, that her willingness to jump ship from Mallory is kind of crazy, and but he wants to use Mallory for more information in the house. Then we see, I heard about this happening, about Angela breaking the bathtub, but I didn't know what happened exactly. And so we get a clip of Angela just chilling in the bathtub, and then she's trying to get out, and then her ass hits the handle in the bathtub. Dee mentions how, on Survivor they don't get showers or anything, and Angela just broke her tub. Like, what a luxury that she had that, and Angela just broke it, and she hopes that that's the only thing that goes wrong with Angela during her HOH. Then we get a little segment of Lyric and Rome. What is this going to be called? Ryek, Loam, Lime. Not quite sure what that ship name is. Comment below if you know what their ship name is, because I actually don't know. But they are together and they start talking about how much they like each other. They're talking about, will this work in the outside world? And Lyric's like, it's literally day 4, bro. But then, like they compare themselves to, the Jeff and Jordan and the Rachel and Brendans of the world. And they both tell each other that they are each other's number ones. Then we get to the veto draw. At the veto draw, D is HOH, so she's pulling the 2 chips out of the lay box. And the first chip is Barrett. And then we cut to Barrett in the DR, and he's got like his whole chest out, like his chest bush just out. And I almost couldn't listen to what he was saying at first. But then, so that like just really threw me for a loop. I thought that was just a jarring like juxtaposition. And then D pulls the second chip, and it's Melody. And she says Melanie says that she's wanted this ever since she was in the womb. And she's the only child, and she's gonna do whatever she needs to do to win. And then we cut to Mallory mentioning that Barrett should go for it. She wants Barrett to go for the veto because D might put up people from that no team if someone wins the veto and uses it. So she's trying to convince Barrett to go for the veto, but when she leaves, Barrett goes, eek, to the cameras, and he mentions that he does want to win the veto, but he doesn't want to use it. But so that's kind of like where he was at with it. So like and this is the first competition he's gonna play in, so obviously you want to win your competitions and stuff. Then we cut to Yash and Dee talking in the hammock, and Yash tells Dee about how he was super blindsided by her nominating him. He thought they were good, and he, helped her win HOH, and he would have really appreciated a heads up, which that was not cool of Dee. I mean, I don't know. I think you should tell your nominees that they're about to go up, at least like right before the ceremony. I wouldn't want to be blindsided like that myself. That would put a really, really bad taste in my mouth about you. So if Yash stays this week, I wonder how, I don't know if that's even repairable. And because like, there's no trust in that. Like, I don't think that you want me around at all if you're not telling me that you're at least using me as a pawn or something, like, because you have to pick somebody to be fair in a way. So really, I think her move should have been to not nominate anybody from her group and just went ahead and nominated like a Barrett or a Ashley. But I mean, you live, you learn, right, Alanis Morissette? But then we cut to Mallory talking to Melody. These two, I wish Mallory and Melody were not in the same circle in the house, because it is actually really hard. I thought, I don't know, they're just, names are together all the time. It's difficult when their names are together to remember who's who. But Mallory talks to Melody and asks her if she would use the veto on her if she won. And Melody says, I don't know. And that is like the wrongest thing to say in the moment. I feel like you should say yes. When asked anything, just, yeah, sure. Yes, I'd vote for you. Yes, I'll use this power on you. Yes, I'll do that. Because first of all, the odds of you winning are actually fairly low. And so you might not even have to confront the situation if it even came up. So why not just freaking agree to it and then just deal with the repercussions after and be like, oops, sorry, I was in a pickle. Sorry, I went back on my word, but love you, girl. Bye. So I thought it was actually kind of crazy for Melody to not tell Mallory that she would just use the veto on her, especially if you're still trying to trick Mallory that you're trying to work with her. Like, even if Mallory is on the chopping block, I don't think it's smart to, even isolate her that bad. Like, I guess distance yourself from her in everybody else's eyes. Sure, whatever, do what you want to do. But in Mallory's eyes, you shouldn't distance yourself like that from Mallory. Then we cut to a little bit of this. Honestly, the whole introduction to this veto competition was super jarring. I really didn't know what was happening, and so I see how all of this kind of led into each other in retrospect. But when Jason's talking to people in the kitchen, and then Angela's telling them about her cruise thing with Howie, like, I thought it was just a fun, silly, haha, little like time filler segment. I did not realize that this is like tying into the competition. And I wonder if they just had that clip that like just so happened to be there, because that's like, Angela was talking about Howie, and that's who they got for the competition. Oh my gosh. Talking to yourself, you don't realize how hard that is, actually. I don't know, I kind of talk to myself anyway, and you should try it yourself if you don't, actually. But man, doing this and just talking to the camera, it's like I just keep talking, and my mouth is so dry like the whole time, I swear. But anyways, so Angela's telling us about what happened on a BB cruise, and she started dancing with Howie from BB9 because no one else was dancing, and she never passes up a dare. But then out of nowhere, Howie shows up in the Big Brother house, and this is when I started like kind of blacking out and thinking I was in a fever dream. I kind of missed bits and pieces of this, but Howie was saying that he is the great grandson of Howie. So this is like Howie, not Howie, I guess. And he had a run-in of some sorts with Dr. Will. And then we watch the Will World video, and Will has created Will Talks, which lets you live forever, and he's become so rich and so powerful that the Earth was renamed Will World. And then they show a clip from the premiere when Will did sneak into the house. I did see a picture a while ago, a little still of like, did no one clock Will in the premiere? And I didn't really know what to think of it. No, I didn't really see it anywhere else. But I guess this is like what it was alluding to. And this is all happening in the future, by the way, because Howie traveled from the future to the present day to take everybody and go back to the future and help him stop Dr. Will with the time machine table. This is a level. I saw someone on Twitter say that this feels like an episode of Drag Race, and yes, like that, like retweet, like no lie, because it really does feel like an episode. The whole like gag of the visuals and everything, people sitting at the table and whoa, we're traveling, like the whole setup is so campy. We cut to the future, and we are in Will World, I believe, and the house guests are all dressed up like futuristic Lara Croft Tomb Raiders, and Will's dressed like an evil doctor, and he sets up this Will World competition. Honestly, the transition in retrospect, kind of sick. Really, like, to just like hop into a competition like this. I wonder if this is kind of how they're going to be introducing competitions for the rest of the season. I think it could get old pretty fast, but it does fill in time if all of these episodes are going to be 90 minutes. So I don't know. We'll see what they come up with. We both love and hate Big Brother for the cheesiness. So unfortunately, I'm kind of here for it. So in the competition, Howie Not Howie is hosting the competition and explains that there's a series of tubes that need to be connected that fit through this puzzle, and the first person to connect them and press their button wins. Mallory says this veto is right up her alley because she solves problems like this every day as a rocket scientist, and Melody says that she is gunning for the veto to prove herself. In the competition, my people were struggling. My little hamsters were struggling, y'all. Dee is just saying, like, any competition where she needs to use a brain cell is not for her. Taylor's having a lot of trouble. She says she ain't no plumber. Like, what is with all these pipes? Barrett is struggling. The house guests are just telling him he's pretty, and he's like, oh no, I'm gonna get the dumb edit. And then Mallory and Yash are pretty neck and neck, and Dee says this is her worst case scenario. Ashley says in the DR that her palms are sweating, and anytime I hear that, I think, are your knees weak? Arms are heavy? Like, okay then. But she's nervous with the competition because she doesn't want to be a replacement nom. Mallory finishes her puzzle. She buzzes in, but one of her pieces disconnected. So she just hurries over and reconnects it. And then she wins the Power of Veto. Mallory wins the first Power of Veto. I think I've heard people say the third season in a row where the initial target has won the Power of Veto and gone to save themselves. And Ashley did that last year and she went on to win. So you never know what'll happen. Barrett says that he's glad he didn't win because he doesn't want to show any cards, and Mallory would have expected him to use the veto on her. Mallory is super feeling herself about winning the veto and says it's a huge confidence boost. Ashley is feeling like she's gonna be the renom because she's like in the only group besides the other groups that were in the HOH competition, as if Dee sticks to this logic. Haley says that these girls have a brick in their pants about going on the block, and then we get a DR saying, with her saying, but I won't be. And I just know that is going to be used so many times whenever she is nominated, probably next week, because these people do not like this woman. Next we get the saga that I didn't realize was going to be in the show tonight. So I'm glad it was, because I think it's a great setup for, honestly, kind of a little bit of the trajectory of like what the season will probably end up being. The Jason Villa edit begins. So Jason and Angela are laying in bed together. They're just laying, relaxing, cuddling, and just talking about life. And Jason mentions that they talk about things that like ways that people try to get them down. And then Jason mentions that, he was kind of looking for like a mother figure in the house because his mother passed recently. And Angela says that like, they were sent here for each other to be in here, and they have like Jason's crying. They have a really heartfelt conversation. Angela leaves that conversation feeling super good about, just their connection. And then literally as soon as she walks out of the room, Jason turns to the camera, stops crying, and just starts laughing. And he's saying that he will use his tears to manipulate Angela because that makes Angela feel like she needs to cater to him. Jason then is talking with Drew and Melody, and they all express interest in wanting to work together, and they call themselves the court jesters. The court jesters. Melody says she trusts Drew, and for now, she trusts Jason. So that already tells you that connection is, really, I guess more so it tells you that her connection with Drew is strong. Jason tells Melody and Drew that he wants to get rid of Devins and he wants to get rid of these reality icons so that the other guests have a chance to shine. He says that it's his dream to backdoor Devins, and also tells Drew and Melody about him turning on the waterworks with Angela and how he's using this to manipulate her. And he's spilling all this tea to Drew, who is in the Crossovers Alliance, and that is where his true allegiance is. So then we get a conversation where Drew is filling Dee in about what Jason is saying about Devins, saying that he's America's dad and they need to get him out. And Dee says that Jason is lucky he's safe this week because he would have been a really good replacement nomination. Drew also fills Devins in on all this information, and Devins says Drew that is really, really is proving himself, giving him all this information and like really going out there and really sharing everything, and he is really showing his loyalty. Angela walks in on this conversation that Drew and Devins are having about Jason, and there's still so many names. And they tell her all about how he was fake crying, and she takes it really hard because Angela, I think, is just a really emotional person and just feels everything and wants to feel close with people and does not want to look a fool and does not want to be tricked. So I think that it was kind of like, it's personal. They were talking about very personal things. Bringing up your dead mom is crazy. If this, like, using it in this way is a little mad. Like, I would be super, like, if you don't mean it, like, don't say that kind of stuff, especially to someone who is a mom and understands that connection. Like, I don't know. I think it was a bit of a step too far, but, like, do what you got to do. But Angela does not like that, and she says that her heart, she's like crying in the DR. She says her heart is broken. She says that he thinks that she's a sucker, but she is not, and that the old Angela would have blown up, but BB28 Angela, it will play it up for Jason and make him think that she has him wrapped around his finger. And she said, I'm gonna play him right back, but harder. And I tell you what, go Angela, go Angela. But, like, she is now, you are her number one enemy. Has to be her number one enemy. It's Jason. Like, that is not great for your longevity, boo. Next, we have Lala dancing around in her heels, showing off her hot-ass bod, and she's telling everybody about all the types of injuries and surgeries she's had. She says she's like RoboCop, and she comes back stronger. Chucks mentions that she's probably the most fun PT patient ever, and I could probably agree. Lala, she hasn't been shown on, I haven't seen much from her, to be so for real, on TV or the feeds, but gosh, she is so infectious, though, when you do see her. Like, you can kind of get it. But, I could also see how it comes off as a lot. So, it can go either way. Ashley and Dee end up having a conversation in the HOH room. Ashley is saying that she is scared the route that Dee is going to go will be picking between her and Barrett. And Dee does tell her that that's pretty true and that Ashley's probably going to go up. Ashley says she feels like she has a humiliation ritual-itis. I like Ashley. I hope she doesn't leave this week because I think she's a really fun, just like she has fun DR. She's fun TV. I like her. And Dee says it's just the logic she's using for the first HOH and, don't take it very hard. It's just kind of what she has to do. And I think Dee kind of lucks out in this, that like people were split up in the way that they were in the HOH competition because it has been a really easy out for her for explaining her way out of why her nominations are the way they are. And like, I think she could have pulled off whatever, but it's like, it's really in her favor that she did it that way. Melody comes in to the HOH room, pretty kind of hot in my opinion, and she's checking in to make sure she's safe with Dee. And while she's talking to her, Dee has this like face mask on, and I just literally couldn't take any of it seriously because of Dee's face mask being on. Dee says that Melody seems like more of a threat to her game besides Ashley, and she's got a lot to think about for with her renom because she's not guaranteed safety next week. Next we cut to the POV ceremony, the first Power of Veto ceremony of the season. And of course, Mallory won the Power of Veto and she used it on herself. And then Dee says that she is continuing with her logic, and then she nominates Ashley for eviction. Dee says that nominating her keeps the heat off her and it doesn't really make a big wave. And she says she's trying to fall back, relax, and let someone else have the spotlight. Ashley says she's nervy, and then she corrects herself and says nervous. I wonder why she did that. I like when, I don't know, she's she's just like cutesy enough to like get away with that kind of stuff, in my opinion. She's really bubbly and out there, and like almost like, you know, Buffy-esque kind of lean when it comes to using funny little words. So it's really, I wonder if she's just in her own head about it and why she changed herself back to being nervous. Taylor says that Julie will not be meeting her this week, and Yash says that he is ready to win this competition tomorrow in the BB Blockbuster and is super hyping himself up in the DR about it. And then, so we will find out what happens on the first live eviction episode tomorrow. I am so excited for it. I am just so ready. I'm excited to see the competition. I'm excited to see who wins. I think that the BB Blockbuster has added so much excitement to the beginning of the season, and I love that people cannot plan for the next week on a Monday. And it's just been, I just love Thursday nights. They're my favorite nights of the week. I tell people this is my Super Bowl, this is my football, this is my stand in front of my TV and pace and clap out loud and yell at the TV kind of night. Before we get into some spoilers, I have a theory. Before we get the first eviction of the tomorrow, I have a theory, you guys. So if you look at the memory wall, there are the little, I wrote down that there are little bank capsule looking thingies like under the memory wall. And I think there's enough for each person in the house. I think when a house guest gets evicted, I think they will maybe take one of those, or it'll be in the bag. That will be with the evicted house guests, and I think it will somehow be involved with some sort of a buyback situation. I think people will re-enter the house after being evicted at some point this season. I think it will happen at least once, and I think that those little capsules underneath the memory wall have something to do with it. So I have nothing to confirm or deny any of this. It's just every time I see them, I'm like, what the fuck are those for? So we are going to get into some very light live feed spoilers. But if you are uninterested in that and just want to wait until tomorrow, thank you so much for tuning in. I am so excited for live eviction tomorrow night. It'll be the first live eviction of the summer. It's going to be one to remember. I'm very excited about the competition. I don't think we will get a live HOH tomorrow, but how cool would it be if we did? So if you are leaving now, thank you so much for tuning in. Please follow me pretty much everywhere at Shelby Ashley, and that first E is a 3, and I will be here tomorrow night for some more BB post-episode recaps, and we will be recapping the live eviction episode. And so if you are interested in some spoilers, here are some light live feed updates. Now, I'm going to be so for real. I have had a busy day today. I recently caught up on the feeds from yesterday, but I don't know a lot about what's happening in the house today. I know. It's that 2 jobs. I swear it just takes up all my time, and then Big Brother starts, and my jobs don't understand that this is actually the job I want to be doing. So... But, so as far as the initial targets go, the status started off as, Yash would go if he was still on the block at the end of, on Thursday. And it seemed like Taylor would stay if she's on the block, and it seems like Ashley would be safe if Yash was on the block with her, and then she's probably evicted against Taylor. So right after being nominated, Yash and Ashley seemed to be campaigning a little more than Taylor, so that was kind of affecting a bit of her chances for staying. Initially, I thought she would be the safest on the block, but she wasn't putting in much work, so I thought her safety was slipping away from her. But Ashley's talking a lot today, so who knows what's happening. The crossovers are still working together. The reality icons were getting pretty sus about Drew because they weren't thinking that Drew was really sharing all of the information he had with them. But Drew, as we saw, Drew warned them about Jason and warned them about Jason being fake and warned them about Jason like trying to manipulate all of them and stuff. Like Jason is trying to make slop Rice Krispie treats for Devin's daughter's birthday, to like pull on some heartstrings. And, you know, he's trying to gain all this like emotional connection with Angela, but he doesn't really mean any of it. And if it wasn't for Drew, they could have been starting to be fooled, because Drew is the one that brought that information to them. So they are very lucky to be having Drew, and I think that their paranoia about Drew is dying down a lot. But Angela's paranoia is getting pretty bad. Definitely getting some BB-26 flashbacks whenever she referred to Drew as droopy eyes. It's giving crazy eyes, but I don't know, maybe we won't, because this team really needs to stick together. And if they start, Drew's got a lot of information on both sides, so whoever starts like turning on Drew first really is, Drew can spill like a lot of information. Although I guess Drew's already spilling like all the information from like the non crossover side of the house. So, because that is where his true loyalty lies. Angela noticed a group of people meeting in the gym, and she saw Drew go in the gym as well. And so she started getting a little paranoid that there was like this whole gym alliance happening. And then like her and Dee are like watching the TV in the HOH room, trying to like peep in and see who's in this alliance. But I think that they're like working their way down from all of this paranoia, though. Then we have Lyric. Lyric tells Rome that she is a lawyer. And their showmance is showmancing, and they're talking about their relationship being more important than the game. Rome's getting closer with Jason, and Lyric and Melody are trying to like bring their boys together in Drew and Rome and like start this whole Onion Alliance. There's a lot of alliance talk I don't even quite understand. That's where it's really hard trying to like, it's a lot more fun when I just get to sit and watch the feeds and catch up like through Twitter, because Twitter's not like super chronicle, and I'm just trying to like piece it all together. The house is in itself is looking at, we do still have the crossovers with Devin, Steve, Drew, Angela, and Barrett. We have the red corner with Kamu, Chuck, Haley, which people do not like. Haley, do not like her. It is crazy. And Devin's and Dee. And those two groups have kind of come together in a way where I'm pretty sure like Kamu kind of feels like it was his doing. But the intricacies of that little merger, if you will, I can't really sit here and explain, because it's still a bit of a mystery to me. I know, lovely life feed update, huh? Like, it's just, you know, the realities of busy people. But that's why we have people like Taryn Armstrong and stuff that just like tell you everything that happened. But I'm just not going to tell you everything that Taryn said, because then this would be hours long and it would be plagiarism. So in a way, we have this big super group, and then we have like a couple sets of trios. Lala, Jason, and Taylor are kind of together. Melody, Lyric, and Mallory, Lyric, and Melody are kind of together. Of course, Dee, Devins, and Angela are kind of together. And then Rome's kind of working on a side of the house. There's a lot of moving parts right now. The alliance charts go crazy. I encourage you to look at any of them if you want a little more in-depth information. I haven't really caught up on everything today, like I said, but it's kind of looking like Yosh will leave if he's on the block. But when it comes to Ashley and Taylor, I don't really know what's happening. I think it was kind of moving toward keeping Ashley for a moment, but Ashley is just running her mouth from what I see, and she's just telling everybody that she has the votes and just not keeping it on the low at all. So I think everybody is trying now, like, getting a bad taste about Ashley in their mouths. And I think the tides are shifting back to keeping Taylor over Ashley. But yeah, we will find out how all of this shakes out. Tomorrow night is the first live eviction. I don't think we'll get live HOH, but that would be so neato if we did. But I do wonder if we will get feeds right after the episode for a little bit of like before HOH kind of conversation happenings, because Big Brother is like promoting watching the feeds on YouTube after the episode. So I think that those feeds will go live. And so I guess we'll just get a little bit of feeds before the HOH competition if we don't get a quick HOH competition. But with the Blockbuster, I don't see that happening. But you know, I will be here to recap the first live eviction episode tomorrow night. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching this far. I am really having a great time with Big Brother so far. Seriously, it's like summer has actually begun. I am so excited for live eviction tomorrow, and I will tell you all about it. So tune in later.